Hello, it's another edition of PTN Extra. Hayden Herrera, joined by Evan Kamiko and Mike Irwin. Guys, it's Super Bowl week. You know, maybe not a lot of excitement about that here, unless you're a Hunter Henry fan. But baseball season almost here. Baum Stadium finally defrosted after the winter storm, the great winter storm of 2026.
Have you guys been out there? Is the snow actually melted?
Yeah, the snow was melted. We drove past it last week when we were coming back from Oklahoma.
Because I saw it on Monday and it was still snow.
It was some of it was melted.
I'm just going to base it on the fact that everything else seems to be melted around Northwest Arkansas. So, but yeah, I mean, another season awaits Dave Van Horn's 24th season in charge of the Razorbacks. What do the vibes feel like to you going into this season?
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time. I mean, look, the expectation for this team is always going to be Omaha, and this season should be no different than any of the past seasons. I think you lose Vahiva Aloy, but you like to think that the talent here last year is going to step up. What I'm interested the most in is probably the pitching staff. I think when it comes to the actual pitchers themselves, I think you have more depth this year than you did last year. So it'll be something interesting to keep an eye on. But again, the vibes are high out at Baum-Walker Stadium. It's a really exciting time, and the expectation is not going to change that they will be one of the final 8 teams playing in 2026.
I like the fact that the lineup's not totally set right now, because if it were, that suggests to me there's not a lot of depth. When you've got some positions where you're not sure, okay, I might use this guy, or this pitcher may be a start, he may go into the bullpen, he may be part of the rotation on Sunday or whatever, that tells me you've got options. And you always want options, because baseball, you would think it's not a physical sport. You're not running into each other a lot, but there are collisions, and there are problems with arms, shoulders. Injuries pop up almost from the beginning. And those injuries can end up determining your season. And especially with these pitchers, you know, you're looking at them, and they look good right now, but when they have to go against a different team, a different lineup, we might come out of this first weekend with some changes there. So to me, I like it, because I've said many times I don't like predictability. I like to be surprised. I like to look at something and go, whoa, that was different. I didn't think that was going to happen. So I think that's what we'll see.
You mentioned injuries. Gage Wood had an injury in the first, in the Shriners Children's Classic, kind of becoming a tradition for the Hogs to go down there. I believe it was 5 of the past 6 seasons now that Arkansas has been in Globe Life Field in February. So these opening weekends, no matter what the result, whether 0-3, 3-0, 2-1, they aren't always an absolute indicator of where your season's going to go. But from what we heard from Dave Van Horn, it's just kind of, we're just going to throw it out there and see what we got, basically. It's kind of the mindset.
Yeah, and I think at this early in the season, that's all you can do. Look, if you're this Arkansas team, and we'll start on the pitchers, right? Like Gabe Gackle, can he be that starter that we believe he is going to be, that we've been hoping he would be last year? That's question number 1. Question number 2, Hunter Dietz, who seems like he's going to be your Saturday guy this year. Is he going to be healthy all season? What's the product going to look like? DVH and Matt Hobbs really high on Hunter Dietz, but is he going to be able to pitch the full season? Then who's the 3, right? Is it going to be Colin Fisher, who DVH kind of alluded to? Will it be Cole Gibbler, who feels like was on that Gackle trajectory last season, really emerged out of the pen late in the season, went to Omaha. They were that 1-2 punch. It felt like when Zach Root wasn't going so well last year, obviously, Gage Wood put him aside, because that's just in a category of itself when you throw a no-hitter. So you're going to get an idea of who's going to be Dave's starters and who's going to be his go-to guys out of the pen. Curious what role Parker Coyle is going to play. So a lot of questions. Tate McGuire, another name. So, I mean, that's the pitching side of it. And as for the hitting side in the infield, it feels like you were pretty locked with 4 guys, and then there's 5 guys who are going to, go in and out and see who really makes an impact opening day. I think it's, Mike, who's going to hit is going to determine who's going to play the field.
The thing I like about this tournament, typically the field is loaded. And it gives you an early look. You're not going up there playing a bunch of teams that you can beat. If you come out of this thing with even 2 wins, not win all 3, but 2, you're in good shape. They don't typically win all 3 games. I mean, this year you got TCU. Let me tell you about TCU. They have an arrangement with the Rangers. In the preseason, Arkansas has been in their indoor, which that thing helps.
Yeah.
It's not as limited as you think, because they've got, They've got computers that show where a ball was hit, even though it just barely goes out over the infield and bounces off a net. It'll show you where that went, and they can work their infield. The only thing that doesn't happen is outfielders are not getting good work out there. But you can do some things. But come on, TCU just goes over because Major League Baseball hasn't started yet, so they can go over there and use that facility, and that's where they're going to be playing. So to me, they have a natural advantage. Texas Tech always has a good program. Oklahoma State does usually. So that's going to be interesting to see how they sort of negotiate those 3 games.
And Mike, if you remember back to 2024 when Arkansas was in this tournament against Oklahoma State, that game went to like 12 innings. One of the craziest baseball games I've seen. It was Gabe Gackel's debut, and he had to send them to extra innings. We saw Colin Fisher. The night before, Hagen Smith had that 17 strikeout game against Oregon State. So fireworks always happen between these 2 teams, and you could go back to the Stillwater Regional too a couple of years ago.
Sure.
It'd be a late night if that happens again, because I believe it's a 7 p.m. First pitch. We were hearing from Dave Van Horn earlier he was on a teleconference with all the other coaches and the teams, and he said, we'll gladly go to this tournament as long as you'll accept us. They like having the Hogs there because the fans, obviously.
Tremendous fan support. I mean, if you're there, you don't have to be there. If you're watching on TV, you can hear it, you can see it all around the infield. Stacked up pretty high, Hog fans.
I believe it's called Bomb Walker South to Hog fans, if I'm right.
A week from Friday is when we'll see it all in action. Be sure to get your Flow Baseball accounts and make sure you cancel those Flow Baseball accounts once the Hogs are done playing, because they will get you. I know that from firsthand experience. All right, enough about my financial woes. We've got more PTN Extra coming up in just a bit. Evan Kamiko sat down with softball head coach Courtney Deifel. Their season starts this week in, I guess you could say, less than 48 hours almost. All right, we'll get to that after this break.
Excited to be joined by Arkansas head softball coach. That's Courtney Deifel. If you don't know already, year 11 here on the Hill as a coach, as the head Hog. Is it weird that it's like the season already and that you're ready to roll?
No, no. I think that when you say year 11, it's like, gosh, it's gone by in a flash. And when you're a spring sport, I think sometimes the fall feels long, and then all of a sudden everything speeds up. And so we're ready. It's like we got back, and it's like a blink, and it's go time. But this team's ready, and we're ready to roll.
Well, it's an exciting time for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and especially the softball team. A lot of carryover from last season. Let's start where kind of last season left off, the Super Regional here. I know it was a tough weekend for you guys. The sickness that happened with the team. Just kind of walk us through, for everyone at home, what went on that last kind of weekend of the season, and just the emotion of ending such a great 2025.
Yeah, it was an incredible year for this group, and the way they came together, the way they overcame adversity, just how they grew, all of those things. That last weekend, it was tough. We woke up Friday morning. Our trainer was like, Robin and Peyton got really sick last night. They have some food poisoning thing. They were sick. And as anyone that followed, they're our 1 and our 2. And in the world of softball or even baseball, when you don't have your 1 or 2, you aren't full strength. It changes the game. Rob tried to go through it, but she, didn't have her full strength. And then, our team rallied. We had a chance. They put their whole hearts out there. It didn't go our way, but with what they faced and what they did and how they fought, I'm really proud of them. And we just feel like something was taken from us. When you're not full strength, it changes your trajectory a little bit. This team fought their butts off. It didn't go the way we wanted, and so we're hungry and we're ready to go this year.
I was going to say, does that give an extra edge for this season for all the returners that are here? Because you return, the whole rotation, as well as I think 6 of the infielders from last season. What's the extra edge that can do for this team?
Well, I think anytime that you feel a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, a little bit of like you're hungry, you want to prove something, you want to have a chance to get what you feel like is yours, it just changes your motivation. Yeah, we have a ton of returners. We've added some really talented transfers and freshmen, and so we just feel like we have all the pieces that we need to have a really special year.
And I want to touch on kind of the returners, because it feels like in the college game today, it's rare that you bring back your entire rotation with the transfer portal and NIL and all of those kind of things mixed into it. What does it mean that everyone wanted to come back for another year and continue to hunt to get to Oklahoma City for the first time?
Well, it means everything. As college athletics continues to change and there's just more transferring for our whole team to come back, let alone our whole rotation, it's huge. It's huge. It means that they love this place. It means they believe in what we're doing here, and we love our culture. We love who we're around every day, and they do too. And so they just want to do this together and continue to leave their mark on this program.
It makes sense when you look back and think of the atmosphere at Bogle Park during the regionals and even the super regionals here, and honestly one of the best that I've seen in my couple of years covering the team. It's just so exciting to see kind of the energy in the stadium when you have all those fans here trying to support this team to get to a place where it hasn't been before.
Oh yeah, it's an electric atmosphere. I don't know that there's one that's better in college softball, especially with how our stadium's set up and how our fans just continue to show up. And you can feel that throughout the year. They're so invested in this team, in each player and the team's success, and they're a huge part of that. And you could feel it, especially like one game in particular was the regional game against Oklahoma State. And we're fighting back, and you just feel this complete change in the entire atmosphere. Our fans, it's like everybody knew, our fans, our players, everyone knew that we were going to fight back and win that game, and it took a collective effort, and we got it done. That
fifth inning rally, I think, will be something I remember for all time of just seeing him getting going, and that was awesome to watch. Then you get to the offseason, right? We've talked about, that you do have a lot of familiar faces returning. How is that like, integrating some of the new faces? I mean, Dakota Kennedy from Arizona, the freshman that you guys mentioned, that you mentioned already, and getting this team to where it needs to be right now.
Oh, well, every year there's a new challenge every fall of even though you have so many returners, the entire makeup of the team's different. And so I think for us, that's always the challenge of how do you get Dakota Kennedy and Tiana Bell, who are seniors. They have 1 year here. How do you get them fully in what we're doing? And then your freshmen, we have 5 really talented freshmen. And so every year you're faced with that challenge. Our returners are awesome. They get them ingrained in who we are, what we do really quickly. And I think we're still trying to figure out what the personality of this team is. And I'm not sure we figured out last year's until about halfway fully. But we know that this team takes care of business. They are mature, they take care of themselves, they take care of each other, and they love to compete.
We were talking with Ella McDowell a couple of weeks ago, and she mentioned that they love to have fun. And obviously, Ella is such a big personality. Looking forward to her step in year 2. Curious about that step where you've seen her grow most in the offseason. But before we get to that, like just the fun nature of the team that she was talking about, that they're dancing and singing all the time at practice. What does that do, again, for team camaraderie and getting this team close to, like you mentioned, finding an identity?
Well, there's something really special about a looseness that comes from a team that just has fun together, loves competing together, loves working hard together, and just leans into each other. It's easy to do on the easy days when things are going well, but that's what we want to see from them when things really start to get hard. And there's going to be a lot on Ella this year because we lost the other corner of big personality, and they just fed off each other. And for Ella, she's such a passionate player. She plays with her heart on her sleeve, so she's going to carry a lot of that. And I'm excited to see what she does this year. I didn't know it was possible, but she came back fitter, stronger, hungrier, and she's ready to have a really big sophomore year.
I think Hog fans are excited to see her out there in the hot corner. Let's talk about the pitching staff, right? We've already alluded to it a little bit, but to go into depth, where have you seen kind of Robin and Peyton grow over the offseason to get back to this year?
Well, Robin's continued to elevate her game every year, and we could see that in just the performance that she's had, her freshman to sophomore to junior, and she's ready to take that next big step. She's leading the staff, and I think that she has worked for that role, and she is ready for that role. And so she is more confident and has fine-tuned her tools more than I thought that she could, because I thought that she's had a really, really great the last 2 seasons. And same thing for Peyton. We think back a lot to Peyton as a freshman in her fall and Peyton as a sophomore in her fall, and it's like they are 2 different people. Just how strong she is, how much she understands who she is and what she does really well, and then how she complements Robin and the rest of the staff. So they're really taking charge of that staff, and they'll lead it.
and being mainly with the pitchers, being a former pitching coach yourself, like how much pride do you take in the staff being again and again one of the best in the entire country?
Well, I take a lot of pride in it. I mean, that's the game. As offensive as it is, the game still starts in the circle, and that's what sets your tone. And so when you have our staff back with another year under their belt, and then you add 2 talented freshmen, you know that they can set the tempo from the circle, and everybody's going to feed off that.
We've seen 2 perfect games the last 2 years. You think we're going to get another one this year?
Sure. Of course I'm going to say yes.
It's a big ask to have a perfect game, but I mean, look, anything can happen in softball. We talked about the pitchers. Let's kind of go to the other side of the ball and the defense, right? Like you return, Reagan Johnson in center field, as well as, obviously Reagan Kramer's out, but you've got Reagan Johnson back. Kaylee Wyckoff comes back as well. What excites you about the outfield and adding Dakota Kennedy as well out there?
Well, I think Reagan Johnson's the best center fielder, one of the best outfielders in the game. That's not bias. I just think she's great. I mean, she's a game changer for us, and the ground that she covers and how solid and consistent she is, it's huge. And then you add Dakota Kennedy, who's already a Gold Glove winner in left field. She's going to hold that down. And then you add Kaylee Wyckoff, who's just another year being confident, and there's going to be a lot of ground covered out there, and it's going to be really hard to get a ball down.
One of the last positions I want to ask about, shortstop Atalia Rijo. Again, we saw her really break out towards the end of last season. What excites you about her in another year, fully kind of developing into what she's going to be?
Well, yeah, she took huge strides offensively. She's always steady and consistent defensively, but she's an offensive force, and that's what we see from her. But when you look at last year, and we had the #1 defense in the country, and then you're looking at this year going, are we maybe better? Wow, like we can defend it. Matt Michael does an incredible job. And when you're looking at a pitching staff that's back and they're confident, and then they have the defense behind them, you have so much confidence every time you throw a pitch, knowing that your defense has your back. And we're going to see some big plays out there.
It's definitely exciting when you have the defense that we've talked about, the pitching, and then you look at the SEC as a whole. And again, it's still the best conference in college softball. What excites you about this team being able to compete, go on the road to the likes of Oklahoma, Texas, and really get challenged and tested before postseason?
Well, that's what you do. That's why you sign up for it. You're going to line it up against the best. They're going to demand your best. You're going to play in hostile environments, whether it's Oklahoma, whether it's Texas, whether it's Tuscaloosa. We're going to, no matter where you go, you're playing in huge stadiums in front of huge fan bases, and you have to figure out how to line it up against some of the best. And so it'll test us, it'll get us ready, and we're ready for it.
What's something for the fans who are going to come out to Bogle that they probably don't know about this team yet that they're going to find out very soon?
Well, they have to come and watch. They have to come and figure that out for themselves.
I love that. A couple more, then we'll let you get out of here, Coach. For you, again, I'm curious for you personally, right? We've talked about, this is your 11th season as the head hog. How have you changed from year 1 to where you are now?
That's a good question for my players. Some would say I've softened probably. I think that time, you always evolve as a coach. And I think in that time I also had my 2 sons. And so I think you change a ton being a parent and being a mom. And so I think that I know for me, I'm a lot more settled in. I'm a lot more confident. I love what we're doing. I fully believe in where we are and who we're doing it with. I don't know. It's a good question for my players.
Well, we'll have to ask some of them throughout the season and get more on that one. But I want to talk about the freshmen because, again, they haven't faced the SEC competition yet or at college level, but you're very excited about them. We've been talking about them, it feels like, for years now. Who should kind of fans have an eye on that you think is going to make an immediate impact on day one? Well,
we have 2 really strong arms in the circle. So Saylor Timmerman and Lily Faye McWhorter, they are very talented. So we expect them to step in right away and make an impact and just really complement the staff that we returned. And then we have Kyler Del Duca, who's just a gritty player. You're going to see her run some bases. You're going to see her play some infield positions. She is small, mighty. And then you're going to see Brinley Bain, who is just one of the toughest players that we've had. Incredible work ethic. She can do 3 or 4 different things on the field, and you're going to see her do that. We aren't going to see Kamari Hall this year. We had an injury, and so she's going to be out, and we're excited about her future. But this freshman class, it's huge what they can do and how they add to what we already have coming back.
Two more, then we'll let you get out of here. Again, I want to touch on, college softball and NIL and where that kind of is. And, how do you feel that the game has changed when it comes to adding in the NIL component in softball, when it comes to, the sport on the entire collegiate level?
Oh, gosh. Do we have enough time for that?
We got all the time in the world. Everything's changed. Everything's changed. And I think what we're seeing a lot is, like what we talked about earlier, we're seeing a lot more transferring. And so it's just really figuring out, it can't be all about the money. It has to be the right fit. It's your one experience. For us, we still don't have a really established professional league. So this is your experience, and you want to love your experience. You want to choose it again. And so for us, I think it's continuing to change. It's continuing to find our place in that, and push the limits and really try to be at the forefront of softball. But we'll continue to give them the best experience in college athletics and college softball, and so they know their place and they belong here. Cannot wait to see that. Coach, last thing we've got for you. What's one word so far to describe this team and why?
Business-like.
Why so?
Is that 2 words?
I think it's one. We can combine it. It's hyphenated.
Business-like. They are so mature. They show up every day and they work. And so they take care of business. They take care of business individually and collectively, and you'll have to come watch it.
It's going to be an exciting time. Can't wait for the season to get started. That's Courtney Deifel. Thanks for taking some time. We'll be right back after this.
Wrapping things up on PTN Extra. Before we go, guys, here with Hayden Herrera, Evan Camico, Mike Irwin, the special edition Norm DeBriyn jerseys really kind of took Arkansas social media by storm. Pretty spiffy in honoring a legend, of course. What do you think the line's going to be like at Hog Heaven when these bad boys hit the shelves?
I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to be on it. I will tell you that. I don't buy a lot of Arkansas gear. That's a hat I'm looking forward to buying March 27th. Against Florida. Should be a fun series. Should be a really long line. I think I'm going to have to get there. I might have to call in sick that day and get there like 3 hours in advance so I can get a hat.
Mike, any memories of when the team first wore those jerseys back in the early
and even before I got here, what people don't understand is the baseball program had been discontinued. It was pretty good if you go back 30s and 40s. Then it had been discontinued, so he had to build it back up. When he came here, they were playing in what looked like a glorified Little League park. I mean, the field was larger, but the stands were like what you typically see at a Little League game. It was down 15th Street toward the east. And then they moved over to the fairgrounds, which is down next to the U of A farm, and played there for a while. Again, terrible facilities. Finally convinced Frank, okay, if we're going to improve this program, we're going to have to do something. That's where they built George Cole Field, which was really nice for its time. But then that thing wore out, and Cliff Gustafson of Texas Longhorn, the first time they came up, because they always had a lock on the SWC postseason tournament, and they came up here and played it one time, and the pad underneath the AstroTurf had melted, and it had come up, and the asphalt underneath had gone into the grass, and it was all yucky looking. And he made fun of it. So that pushed Frank in, okay, we got to do something about this or it'll be embarrassing. And Norm thought he was just going to improve what they had, and then Frank did what he always did. He went and looked around, found some cheap land on where it is now and said, hey, we'll build it there. And that's the beginnings of what's now Baum Walker. So Norm he got all that done.
Norm DeBriyn, what a figure. I used to go as a young lad to the Norm DeBriyn baseball camps in the summer, back when they did have that turf in the early days of Baum Walker Stadium. That'll be a great weekend overall, celebrating his legacy, so be sure to get your tickets, because I'm sure those are going to go fast, as will all of the merch. All right, that wraps up another edition of PTN Extra. For Evan Camico, Mike Irwin, I'm Hayden Herrera. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you next time.